Everybody here. It is Mass Sports Stakes. We're coming on a little bit later than normal, and Ryan is not with me, as you noticed. As you notice, the colorful background, the SNA live T-shirt going on over there. We got a little color in the house tonight. We got a little commentator
Yeah.
from Smoking Ashes. I'm gonna turn it into him and let him give it a go. And here he is.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for even having me on here with you, brother. It's a blessing to be here with you, man. And it's a nice thing to be able to turn the tide a little bit and jump something that plays so dear to my heart, which is sports, and being able to talk this straight through and true with you. The one thing I will say is we didn't have to go far. I know your co-host's name is Ryan, so I know you're not gonna be able to mess that up too much today.
Exactly. No. This is Ryan from Smoking Ashes. We are on
That's
the sister
right.
network. We're on one institution together. Him and his cohorts run. Go ahead. You tell him. I'm going to mess it up. You tell him. I don't want to mess it
Don't
up.
worry about it, man. So I'm 1/3 of what we call Three the Hard Way. We host our show, the SNA Live podcast. Like you said, we're basically like label mates on one institution. We're primarily function out of Smoking Ashes Cigar Lounge, which is one of the hottest, newest, trendiest cigar lounges growing on the East Coast, especially in the Northeast. It's been a crazy ride, and one that we definitely enjoy as much as it is to watch it develop. Again, being on the same network, it was a blessing to be able to jump on with you and basically co-host on this episode with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Just so everybody knows, we're going to get into some college football, some pro football. We are completely unmuzzled. So put the kids out of the room. Women and children stay. Let's go. Let's get it. And so it's going to be a fun, impactful night. There's a lot of stuff going on in sports, and there's stuff that we like to talk about, which is the business of sports. We're going to get into a little bit of the hiring practices of how coaches are hired and how it goes about. We're going to get into, leaders in rookie of the year, maybe, and defensive, offensive rookie of the year, and league MVP a little bit later. That's going to be the icing on the cake towards the end. But first, I really want to jump into this other subject. I want to jump into how teams are built. Traditionally in the NFL, it's take your draft picks are like gold, right? Draft picks are the way to go. You keep your draft picks, you build through the draft, you groom your own. That's the way I was taught from Ernie Accorsi to Mr. Davis to everybody I worked under. That's the way it is. But the Rams have a different philosophy. The LA Rams trade every draft pick away. They accumulate veteran players. Somehow they fit them in the cap. Somehow they maneuver the money around enough to make it all work. And I want to talk to you, Ryan, about you're invested in young people's sports. You're really tied into the New Jersey area high school sports and the Pop Warners. And run a league
That's
there
right.
for the kids. But when you're talking to these kids and they see, for so much of it's go to school, get drafted, be with that team. Now a guy like, now the Rams come in, we're like, nah, screw that. We don't care about the draft. We're just we're plucking players around the league. How do you see this team building work for the mindset? Do you think it's going to be a successful one or not?
I don't know. It's almost like the Rams are trying to take a page out of the NBA's books on just acquiring all these players and just consistently trading. I've never seen a team trade so much currency. And like you said, draft picks at the end of the day are currency. And I've never seen a team get rid of so much for these veteran types of players. And you could tell the mindset is really about them being all in. Like every team wants to win the championship, but you could tell these guys with the moves they're making, they're literally all in because with them getting rid of all these draft picks, they're not going to have a foundation to build on over the next few years. I personally don't like the process and how it's going with them. I did like the Stafford trade because anything was better than Goff. You know what I mean? I understand that one. But, at the same time, I mean, like, you
All
go
roads
back.
away from golf are better no matter what the road is.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, again, it's a shame because you know what's funny? I remember watching quarterbacks, for instance, we'll talk about them, develop back in the day. You gave a guy a shot for some years. A guy would come in, he would sit behind a veteran. You allowed him time to mature and learn the game the right way. Nowadays, especially number one draft picks, these guys are getting called in. It's like you have to have immediate results or it's time for you to go. And Goff, he started off okay with McVay, didn't work. And obviously the Rams felt that they needed to make the move because of all the other moves they made too. I mean, they traded away another first for who? Brandon Cooks. I know they got rid of multiple picks, at least second and thirds for other players throughout the years. I mean, I get it. I get, and as a fan, you respect the hunger of a team wanting to go out and try to win now. But man, if this doesn't work, they're gonna have egg on their face for a long time.
Well, yeah, they are all in. It is Super Bowl or bust this year, right? They went and traded for Jalen Ramsey. They got Von Miller. They got ODJ. Woods went down, which I think is going to be a major part of their offense stumbling the next few weeks because Woods. I mean, yes, you have Cooper Kupp, but the reason why Cooper Kupp couldn't, was defeating a lot of coverage is because Woods was making people pay if they didn't.
Absolutely.
So there it is. I wanted to also say all our guests that are watching or all our fans that are watching, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on YouTube right now. We're live on TikTok. We have all these streamings going at once. So if you got a question, you want to throw something in, you just want to say hello, feel free. We'll respond. It's live. We're here to answer anything you got on these subjects or another subject. We're all about it. But yeah, I think again, it's Super Bowl or bust, and this might be a bust. What I saw last night in the game was an offense that, and actually for the last 2 weeks that they played, was an offense that looked a little befuddled. Ever since they played New England, and New England came in with that cover 2 defense and that shifting style defense, Stafford has been befuddled. They really have to go in the lab this week coming up and figure this out. McVay is not using the play action and run game like he usually does. So therefore, I think that he's going to struggle. Stafford's going to struggle, and ODJ is going to struggle. Even last night, they could have put Odell on the field as the outside, boundary receiver and put trips away and let him defeat some coverages, at least to draw it over there. But they went and they put the rookie from Notre Dame, in that situation. And again, nobody cares about him. The kid dropped 3 balls.
Absolutely. You're not fearing anybody. Nobody is worried about you, bro.
Yeah, nobody's worried about. He's like, he's the guy in the fight going like, yeah, okay, you just stay over there.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
I got you. Don't worry about him. He can stay over there.
Yeah, if you had Odell on the field, at least they're like, oh crap, maybe this is a play.
You gotta respect it. You have to.
Yeah, you gotta respect it. You got to respect Odell. So hopefully out of the bye, they're able to work Odell a little bit better. They get him into the mix, keeping that weapon out there on the outside because right now that offense looked disheveled. And Henderson, here's what I don't get. Last night they had a 4th and goal, and they've done this 2 weeks in a row now, 2 flipping weeks in a row. It's a 4th and goal, and they dial up a pass to Henderson, the fucking running back. I mean, you got Kupp, you got Woods, you got ODJ,
all these options.
You got Higbee, you got all these options, and you're dialing up a running back play, and then they throw I was like, what are you doing, right? Like, what are you doing? And then they get into the red zone last night, and they instead of kicking a field goal, what do? They dial up a fake field goal and let the punt. You got one of the most potent offenses in the fucking league, and you're dialing up.
Yeah, trick plays.
Yeah, you're dialing up trick plays. Like, are you serious right now?
It's desperation when you go that route to me.
It really is. It's
and like there's no reason for it.
You were getting out muscled up front by the Niners offensive line all night. Okay. They wore out your pass rushers because you got pass rushers, so you got to play from a lead, and you're choosing not to play from a lead when you start doing that stupid shit. I mean, at least kick the field goal. Give them an opportunity to, get some points on the board. At that point, it was 21-7 or something. Mm-hmm. So you could have went up 20. You could have got 21-10 and went to halftime, down 2 scores and come back from it. But no, now you're down, 2 scores, but 14 points.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of doing things. I'm not a fan of it. I don't really like the way they did it. I think McVay really needs to get back in the lab and get back to who he is, which is run the football at least. And again, you trade for Sony Michel, and you're barely using him.
Where is he? They never pull him out onto the field. And I'm glad you brought his name up. McVay has to go and find that magic that made him important the way he was and relevant years ago. What's funny is he's already acting like he's a veteran coach, an old coach, and it's like he lost his spunk. What happened to him? Get out there, get everybody involved. You mentioned all the players that they have on that team. He has to get involved in the lab and figure out a way how to get these guys the ball faster, make the game move at a different tempo, and bring back that fear that people had when they played against the Rams. I mean, you wanted the quarterback. Stafford is a huge upgrade over Goff, utilize this guy and his skill set. Don't waste these time and these years of these guys you're bringing here. And that's the thing that, and I get this as well. It's a lot of new faces. It's a lot of big personalities. It's a lot of pressure all in one, but hey, it's the big leagues, right? This is what you get paid for. So they got to find a way to calm down the outside noise and get back to playing Rams football the way they were normally playing it. He's got to find a trick, like you said, though. He's got to go back in the lab and dial something up.
Well, and again, they asked for it. Like this, they went and shopped in the Gucci section. They didn't go to TJ Maxx. They went and shopped in Gucci. They're on Rodeo Drive shopping and building their team through that. And this is what you asked for. You paid for it. Now use it. And Sony Michel is somebody that when they drafted at the end of the preseason, or they traded for at the end of the preseason, I was like excited. I was like, this is a guy that will fit their system. He'll fit the kind of running back they're looking for. And now they've barely used him through 9 games. Barely used him. And it's like you've had 9 weeks to get him up to speed. Like Odell not using him last night. Okay. I think it was a mistake, but I get it. He just got there. But Sony Michel is somebody you've had for the whole season, and you've played 9 games, and you're not barely using him.
So let me ask you a question, Dave.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's more like when you see a player like that, does it look like there's a problem on the back end, like in-house, when you have that type of, like, you brought the player in, his capabilities. When he doesn't hit the field, it makes you wonder, is there something going on the backside of things that we don't see? Is he a bad guy at practice? Is he having a problem with, whether it's the OC or – because, like, you wonder, they went and got him, and then they don't use him. So what is usually the cause for something like that?
History has shown me causes of that are lack of playbook and lack of trust in pass protection. Those are the 2 areas that keep a running back off the field. Is if he doesn't know his checks in the pass protection, then that's going to be a huge problem, or their unwillingness to do it. Now, again, I've watched Sony Michel play. I don't think that's an issue because when he was in New England, he wasn't a bad pass protector. He was a willing guy. Now, again, he's not a Tom Rathman. He's not going to step up and like be a jackhammer, right? But he's a guy that will step up and try, get in the way, and that's all you can ask of running backs these days is to step up and get in the way, right? So, again, I don't understand the problem. I don't know why they haven't called and dialed his number more than what we've seen already. And I know Henderson's a good back. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here bashing Henderson. Like, he's a good back. He's been showing up. He's taken the reins and run with it. I get it. But you traded for Sony because Sony has a speed that's different. And you thought you needed him, so you brought him in. You didn't bring him in to back up Henderson. You brought him in to play.
He came in to be the guy.
And Sony's the kind of guy that needs touches. Like, I agree. He's not a spot back, and that's what they're using him as, is a spot back. And he's a guy who needs his touches in order to get rolling. He needs that contact. He needs like five or 6 touches before he actually starts going, all right, here we go.
To get going. Right. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, he's like a boxer. I got to take a couple shots. All right, I got to take a couple here. All right, now I'm alive. Now I'm ready to go.
I'm in the rhythm now. Now I'm comfortable. I know what I'm feeling out there.
Yeah, exactly. So, the team building method that the Rams have decided to, take on and push forward, we'll see. It's a TBA. I haven't seen it work in the past. Like, it's like when the Yankees go and pick all these expensive teams and they don't win shit, right? But then when they use it,
I feel that.
I saw the hat. I know. The words were coming out of my mouth. I'm like, shit, he's a Yankees fan. I'm about to get
it. It's okay. It's all right. But it's the truth. You can't muzzle something that's the truth. You're speaking facts.
And when they use their farm system and they bring people up through the farm system, they're unstoppable. They're dominant. They're a force to be reckoned with, right? And then they go and get a piece here or a piece there. That's fine. But when they use their farm system, the Yankees are dominant. So, for me, I'm still old school. Call me what you want. Call me stuck in the past. I don't give a shit. I know what works. And what works is farming your players, grooming your players, and bringing them up their way. So
you got to develop your own.
You got to develop your own. And by the way, you got my mouth watering over here with that nice cigar on and going. I'm sitting here watching. And I'm like, damn, I wish I had one right now. I would light it up and we would just take this to a new level. I would pour me a whiskey and it would be a whole different type of show.
Yeah. I got you.
Next time you're on, I'm having a cigar and a whiskey. You let me know, and we're coming
We
on.
do it.
We got to
Absolutely.
get that lounge out here in Phoenix too. We got to franchise out here. We got to bring it out west. We got to get it here in
That's
Phoenix.
been something that
There's a
we've been
lot of
wanting to
New
do.
York guys out here that would love that kind of lounge out here. By the way,
Absolutely. It's something that we definitely thought about doing. So
yeah,
I'll definitely take you up on that in the next time too.
yeah. Come on out, man. We will make it happen out here in the desert. We will get them rolling. Next subject that we're going to turn to really quick. Next one we're going to turn to is the college hiring cycle. Okay. Now, college coaches are already being hired, which I got a problem with. All right. You got UConn and Texas Tech have already fired and rehired their coaches before the seasons are out. And one coach, the one that went to Texas Tech, was at Baylor, I believe, and
Yes,
he got hired away from Baylor in the middle of a very good season for Baylor to go to Texas Tech because he was a Texas dominant high school coach. I'm not even going to go there with this hiring process, but again, how fair can the process be when people that are top candidates are still coaching? How much, I mean, and then that becomes a distraction for the team that they're coaching. And I don't want to hear they're professional. They should be able to handle it. No.
that
You're
has a big
getting
effect.
you're getting young men ready to play each and every week to play a sport and be ready to dominate. And you're in that locker room with a message that we're in this together. We're going to dominate. We're going to win the Big 10. We're going to win the Big 12, whatever the case may be. And we're going to go to a bowl game, and we're going to, this is your senior season, kid. I got you. I'm here for you. And now the organizations, and we'll call them schools, I guess, and universities, but they're organizations.
They're companies. You're right.
Yeah, they're big business. What are they doing? They're poaching people from other staffs mid-season. Now, I know where I sit on this. I said that it's ridiculous, and my resolution I'll reserve to put into effect until after we hear what you have to say. But definitely let the viewers and our audience out here know how you feel about this process.
So honestly, for one, being able to poach mid-season at that is horrible. I've had a slew of friends of mine from baseball, basketball, Division I players. Like you just said, you mentioned it. Hey, senior, I got you, kid. This is the year we've been waiting for. And then all of a sudden, that coach who's built all this around you is gone. Somebody else comes in, and you're not their favorite. You're not even their target. They don't even care about you. It's step one for them. So unless you're one of the top guys, real top guys, they're not going to come in and get you involved right away, especially some of the guys who play the bench and stuff. So when you have these opportunities to poach mid-season, I mean, I don't understand how you build anything that's stable that way. You always have to always be on the lookout that something's going to drop or you're going to lose that other shoe off the foot, because there's no way that you can build something and have these kids who dedicated their lives and dedicated themselves towards a program, and then you have these coaches that just leave like that midstream and like you had mentioned before, preparing for a game is insane, especially if you have somebody in rhythm throughout the entire season. These kids have trained in the off season, they've trained throughout preseason, for college and everything as well. They've been training and practicing forever, and then just to switch it on them, there's no way that you could just turn that on and off like a switch. It's impossible. I don't like that process. I don't think it's fair. Honestly, like I said, there's no stability. If I can go and grab whatever I want because I have more money or I have an opportunity, that really doesn't allow anybody to sink their roots into anything. It's almost like it's a free-for-all.
It is. And Gladys on TikTok, she's on here and she said, it should be in their contracts to finish the damn job. Well, it is. And typically all these coaches' contracts have a buyout. And so that means Texas Tech bought out another coach from Baylor to be their coach mid-season, and the organizations were comfortable with this happening. So one coach got, one organization got compensation for a coach to get out of his contract early and go the other way. So it's the coaches presented to the organization, hey, I want to go interview for this job. And the organization said, okay, go ahead, but they're going to meet your $1 million or $500,000 buyout if you're going to go. And again, let's just talk about firing coaches, how fucking stupid this shit is. So Virginia Tech, in the coach's contract, if they would have waited a couple weeks, just a couple weeks here, and fired their coach in a couple weeks, the buyout in his contract was 25 cents on the dollar post this season. They wound up paying $2.2 million to a fucking coach by firing him early than by firing him at the end of the season.
It's so stupid. That had to be personal.
Well, again, it's like
that's so dumb.
Unless you went and did something inappropriate, but then they can fire you for cause, and none of those
get their money back. Exactly.
Right, but none of those kind of stories have come out. They just said, no, we're firing them. And this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm thinking is going on. And this is why, is because they saw UConn's coach get hired. They saw Texas Tech's coach get hired. They know LSU's going to be open. Rumors are Florida's going to be open. USC is already open. So Virginia Tech's like, listen, I got to get ahead of this coaching search, and I got to get candidates rolling through here, because if I don't move fast, I'm going to be on the outside looking in, because when these other shoes drop, my program might not look as good. Right now, my program, because, we know LSU and USC are open, but Florida hasn't opened and other ones might not open. And as the shoes fall, again, Virginia Tech's a good job. I mean, anybody who's been up there knows it's a beautiful campus. It's a great place to be. It's rich in tradition. So again, great job. But when other jobs open up, it might not be. And this is why my solution to it, and it's been my solution in the NFL for years, and I keep pitching it. No, it's fallen on fucking deaf ears, but I keep pitching it, is you really need to have a hiring freeze, a post regular season hiring freeze for 2 weeks. So again, for the regular season college bowl, before the bowl games, you go ahead and make your adjustments if you want to, but everybody gets to finish the season out. Nobody's, unless there's an egregious contract, like what USC did, firing their coach after losing the game. That was a way to make sure that coach didn't win his way back into a job.
You're right.
They wanted him gone. They fired him early. So then it was like, okay, go ahead, get rid of him. You know what I mean? But now there should be a 2-week post-season hiring freeze. So nobody can get hired for the job without an interim tag before. And then once season's over, then everybody's got 2 weeks.
There's a kind of level the playing field. You level the playing field by doing that. And it's kind of like the NFL. And listen, at the end of the day, most of these coaches have agents. They're always going to do underhanded deals or talk at least to people and teams and have some stuff situated. But the way you're mentioning it, it does level the playing field, or at least make it a little bit more advantageous for everyone to have that chance. Because like you said, and you made a very good point with that, Virginia Tech was just basically sitting there saying, oh, shit, we're going to have egg on our face. We do got to make a move now because, like you said, other spots open that look better than ours. We're going to be sitting here having to probably keep this guy again or go get somebody else that we really didn't want to begin with. So that would be a great idea. But college football seems to just run on its own set of standards of rules and everything that, because that goes from the way they've treated the players themselves and them not being able to benefit. Hey, listen, these guys, man, some of these guys who work, because they work at the end of the day. Yes, they're on a scholarship, but a lot of these guys, listen, some of those stadiums, Notre Dame packs, 80,000, right?
Yeah, it's up there.
Well, maybe even more. I think it's 100,000 in packs.
Well, no, that's at the Horseshoe is 100,000. Yeah.
Look at that. There you go. So look, I mean, but these players, when they're stars there, these people are coming to see them. And that's revenue for the school. You know what I mean? And none of these players for years have gotten any kind of pay. And, look, they're kids at the end of the day. Young kids around opportunity and money as well. They're always going to have the time to make mistakes. But college football, I think, has always got it somewhat or a step wrong. And I don't know if it's done on purpose, but I mean, like, I don't know. It just always feels like that everything that they do, nothing really makes sense to it. Because he said the coaching situation is horrible when they do that, because it doesn't level the playing field. These kids going out there representing these brands, because like you mentioned, their organizations, their companies, they represent these brands. The minute a kid takes any kind of money from an agent because the kid's been eating ramen for the last 3 weeks outside of the lunchroom, when he's getting fed, you know what I mean? Like, listen, these kids come with backgrounds, but college football has to do something on how it operates from a standard from the administrators to the players.
And I'm gonna just jump in on some negativity that I know is out there when they're hearing us, and they can all go fuck themselves. But here's how it goes: these players, yes, they get their college, their dorm rooms, their books, their tutors, all that paid for. I get it.
Get it? Mm-hmm.
But in 2018, the Big Ten, every school in the Big Ten got a $21 million contract from the Big Ten network. $21 million, where 90% of it came from the viewership of college football and repeat games on college football from there. Now, they are contractually obligated to post Olympic sports and other sports and things on there, but 90% of the advertising revenue comes from football. Last year, when football was up in the air and certain teams didn't play and everything else, I know for a fact Penn State had to take out a $9 million loan to bridge the gap of the money they needed.
Look at that.
Because college football wasn't playing and they missed already the money and the revenue from the basketball tournament.
Yep.
So a lot of the college finances are based on these sports, and they're making big money. I didn't say $900. I didn't say $900,000.
No.
I said $9 million. I said the check was $21 million. Now, it doesn't take $21 million to fund a football program and all the scholarships and everything every year. So understand that money that's going into the college is funding other stuff and other things. And there's a reason Nick Saban gets paid $9 million a year as the highest employee in the state of Arizona or in the state of Alabama. Because you know what? He generates more money than a lot of companies that are in the state of Alabama by winning championships and driving all the dollars and getting them on, national TV and having a schedule each and every week that gets them on national TV, except last week when they played New Mexico. But whatever, they need a break too. They need a break too. And that was my problem with the Washington coach or the Washington State coach when he wouldn't take the vaccine. I'm like, you're making $2.5-3 million, and I'm not going to get into the vaccine. I'm just going to go on a soapbox for a second. But it was like you make almost $2.5-3 million a year, and you're one of the higher paid, if not the highest paid person in the state of Washington at Washington State University, and your employer has put a request in and and you choose not to follow it. Well, as a company, they have put that request for everybody in the state from the governor on down because they're all state employees. So if you're not going to take the vaccine and they're going to give you a BS pass because you're a football coach, how about all those other people that conformed and went and got the shot and the vaccine? What are they going to tell them now post shot? Oh, thank you for getting it, but this guy doesn't need to get it. And four other coaches on his staff don't need to get it. That's not how workplace law works. And see, us in the football industry, we're so used to being able to do what the F we want because we just do what we want all the time. And people look the other way. Big corporations coming into play and workplace law becoming more and more involved is making people understand the professionalism that's needed in the sports. And in college football, I think one aspect of professionalism is a hiring freeze postseason for 2 weeks. And I would love to see the NFL do it too, because I think that would get more qualified candidates, more interviews, and we wouldn't just see people trouncing over the Rooney Rule. We wouldn't just see people, hiring coaches 5 days after the season because they're worried about getting the best assistants and stuff on their staff. We would actually, if everybody had a hiring freeze, you would even the playing field in my mind. And yeah, you know what? The Houston Texans, they might have still hired the coach they got, right? At the end of the day, that might have been their guy. But if there was a 2-week hiring freeze and these coaches got a chance to go on the circuit and not feel pressure when they walk in a room, they get to meet everybody, they get to understand and digest what's really there and what the next opportunity offers, you will see coaches making different decisions. And you'll see, remember when Reggie White went to Green Bay? Mm-hmm. Remember when he came out to the Niners, and I was a Niner fan. I was like, oh, we're getting Reggie. This is gonna be freaking awesome, right? And then he chose Green Bay, and I went, huh? Because at the time, Green Bay wasn't Green Bay. It was just
they were not
average team. Yeah. I'm like, why is he going to Green Bay instead of coming to the Niners? The Niners were ginning, they were rolling. It was gonna be phenomenal. And it was when he went to the facility and he got a chance to meet everybody, talk to everybody. free agency back then allowed players to bounce around a little bit, and there wasn't this rush to get a contract done and get them going and all this right away. If there was a time period where people could properly interview, digest situations, and think about it without a time clock in their head, they're going to miss an opportunity. Money's not going to be there if they don't take it. That in itself would make smarter decisions for everybody in the business. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with you. And like you said, just to spin off that real quick, you had guys like a lot of the assistants, because look, at the end of the day, the better teams are going to play later into the season. Some of these teams are going to play late into January. So when you have those assistants on those teams that are still playing, they don't get a fair chance to be able to interview. And like you said, implementing that type of system, I think would be a real smart play. But again, it's tough when you had mentioned the word organization and I had thrown out companies. Man, remember, all these organizations, they pay the NFL or they pay into the NFL. They're all different, they're their own corporations. So I think there's a lot of pressure when it comes to individual relationships as well there too, with some of the old owners and some of the people who still make the decisions, that they try to leave it as a free enterprise kind of system there. Because your way is making it more fair. I don't think the NFL likes being fair.
Oh, fair. No, fair's fun for nobody. Fair's fun for nobody. And also the NFL wants to put off a stigma that, it's all 32 different organizations and there shouldn't be just one hiring process. But the reality is, as soon as you invoked a Rooney Rule, that every organization, and then you grew that Rooney Rule to not only be coaches, but top-level executives you have to interview.
Yep.
Now you've made a hiring practice across 32 independent organizations. So therefore, how independent are they?
Yeah, no, you're right. And it's bullshit, to be honest with you, man, the way they advocate that Rooney Rule thing. Because you'll see it. They'll know who they want. Like you had mentioned, they'll hire when they want. So they'll have their target in sight. And what they'll do is they'll reach out to a guy who coached, like Lovie Smith hasn't been, a head coach, for a few years. I've seen a couple of teams tamper with him last time, he was available, just to, get him in the building and get him out so they can utilize the Rooney Rule so they don't get penalized, as well. And now, and also compensation has been, if I'm not mistaken, they've added compensation if you hire a minority coach now. Correct? Isn't that true?
Yes.
So, I mean, some teams benefit from them when they do it, but you could tell, like I said, they'll bring in old guys that have not really been hot or, worth anything in the last few, just somebody who's their ship has sailed. But they'll bring them in just to advocate. We used we followed guidelines. We did everything we wanted. And then they still go right after that target that they've been linked to for the last 6 weeks.
Right. Everybody knows who's getting what jobs for 90% of it. And you know what? Unless a coach walks away or burns a team, it is what it is, right? But again, I would like it to be a more succinct, fair opportunity for everybody involved. It's not just minorities, it's totally everybody. Agree. And again, if you do the 2 weeks, hiring process, the only teams that really get screwed out of that are the teams that win week 1 and then win week 2, because if you're on the bye week, the rule is already you can go, your staff can go interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you lose week 1, that means you still have week 2 to go interview. So it's only if you win and you're playing into week 2 and 3, then your coaching staffs get kind of screwed on that deal because again, they're out and you got to really wait to do it. But I'm talking like that would be maybe 6, maybe 4, 6 teams, something like that. So, the reality is, out of a 32 team league, 28 to 30 teams would be able to interview their people. And that's pretty fair. It's a lot more fair than what we see right now.
I get it. By the numbers it does. But again, right, like, am I really trying to go and hire the defensive coordinator of the 32nd ranked team in the NFL for my head coaching position? Or am I going to want to try to get somebody who's usually on a staff that's from a program that's successful? And so most of those teams that are playing deep into January, that's where the pool is deeper for the coaches. So that's why you kind of see some retreads always happening once in a while where you wonder, damn, how the hell they hire this guy? because sometimes they just rather go with something they knew than to hire, like I said, I'm a Jet fan, right? So I'm used to being on the bottom of the pile.
Gladys
Yeah.
is a Jet fan too.
So so I understand what it's like to be on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to everything for a while. But again, like, me personally, if I'm looking to build, you want to go and hire somebody from a successful program. And those guys usually are still playing. They always say a successful coach is a coach who's still coaching, the week after into the playoffs. So, I mean, those guys are the ones that you want to try to get the chances to interview, and they never do. Guys like Eric Bieniemy never get a chance.
Well, and here's the thing, though. If you get the first round bye, you can interview, right? Now it's just one team that gets the first round bye because they've extended the playoffs. But if you get the first round,
though,
right? If you get the first round bye, you get to interview. All the teams, like you said, for the bottom that missed the playoffs, get to interview. Now they lose week 1 for some reason. There's an upset. That's 4 teams that get to interview. Yes. So that puts 6 teams that don't get to interview at this point. But here's the thing. If there's 2 coaches that are sought after in that pool, as you know, in that pool, then you get to interview all your other candidates 1 or 2 times before that other guy becomes available. And if you're just not impressed with those 1 or 2, those other guys that you got to interview, you wait for those 1 or 2 guys, and then you make your move later. You know what I'm saying? But when there's 6 or 7 NFL head coaching jobs that are probably going to be available this year, and then you can fill it, or some of them, 5 or 6 of them, with those candidates, and you've had a chance to interview 3, 4, 6. I remember one time I was at the Oakland Raiders, we literally interviewed 7 different men to coach that team. Mr. Davis was the first one to fire his coach, last one to hire his coach, because he took his time. He took his time getting it right. And now, did he get it right? I'm not going to go there. But I'm saying he worked the process.
No, I get it.
To get it right. So that being said, if you have a young athlete that is, looking for an opportunity, Maverick Sports Consulting has moved into the high school recruiting role. We are now open and helping young players get recruited, whether it's in football, basketball, baseball, softball, even cheer and dance. If you are looking for an opportunity to extend your child's reach into college football, college athletics at all, please reach out to Maverick Sports Consulting today and sign up for our high school scouting package. That will get them an advantage over their competition. Next segment.
That is fantastic, by the way. That really is.
Oh, thank you. It was something that a friend of ours, Keenan, brought to me, and he was like, hey, all these colleges, the in and outs and how to work it. Why don't you, open up college or high school packages to help these young men and women get scholarships? And I said, you know what? I never even thought about my reach that way, but it's true. So I was like, okay, let me open up that. And I started that up a few weeks ago, and I got 3 clients already from football because that's my strength. And, I'm trying to work more on getting everybody else. So,
well, listen, I'm over here in the Big North. Big North football over here is pretty impressive for being in Jersey. There's a lot of powerhouse schools out here. So I definitely will toss your name around to a lot of these circles and pools that I'm tied to over here. There's
I appreciate that.
Kids that are definitely trying to get into that.
Yeah, and I know so many coaches around, and it's funny when Keenan and I were talking, I was like, oh yeah, this guy, oh yeah, and he's just like, see, this is why you can just pick up a phone and call somebody, and I'm like, I know it's not going to be instantaneous scholarship if I call, but no. I also know I can help push it along a little bit, and maybe get a kid an extra view or 2, and you never know what happens, right?
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Here at the midway point, I know we're 8-9 games in, but it's a 17-week season, so it's not like we have a true midpoint anymore, right? Who do you think are the lead bell cows for league MVP this year? Who is going to get the overall league MVP this year?
I don't know right now. I'm at such a toss-up, and injuries are playing a big key right now to some of the decisions. Like for me, you got, man, I hated seeing Kyler Murray go down, to be honest with you. The way Arizona was playing, then you have the old guy in Aaron Rodgers who doesn't know how to stay down. A lot of the youth hasn't really transferred over yet, into taking over. as far as the quarterback position, league MVP for me, I don't know, man. I'm really tossed up.
Well, it's funny. If you would have asked me 2 weeks ago or even 3 weeks ago, Tom Brady and Stafford were like neck
They
and
were on
neck.
fire. Yeah, and they were on
They were
fire.
fire, and Kyler Murray was fire. So like you're like, and Aaron Rodgers, you're like, okay, man, we got 4 quarterbacks
Yes.
going. You had Derrick Henry running like a stud again,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
You were like, okay, here we go. Like I got it. Like I can answer this question. But then somebody ran over a nail, and Tom Brady has become human, and Aaron Rodgers, is immune or
Aaron
whatever
Rodgers.
now,
He's
and
Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, the ego and all, and then you got Kyler got banged up, and you got Stafford who's fallen down to normal ranks again too. So it's really like you look at, and Patrick Mahomes has not been playing like Pat
Mahomes
Mahomes.
hasn't been playing exactly. It's so I don't know. I don't know who to give it to at this point. If you had to give it to somebody,
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
and again, if Dak didn't get hurt and didn't have that game like he did against Denver, like that Denver game is a thorn in Dak's side right now because they were balling. They were balling. And then what they just did this week was like, yeah, that's what you were supposed to look like freaking against Denver, and you shit yourself.
Exactly.
So
they shit the bed. Yeah, you're
right.
Yeah,
you completely shit down their legs. And there's I mean, I sit here and I think about it, I'm like, you can go to Buffalo, you can say Josh Allen, but when they went to Jacksonville,
he threw up a stinker there too.
He threw up a stinker in Jacksonville. Now, I know we got like 7 games to go, but at the midway point, I don't think there's any clear lead dog that's pulling this sled and that's looking like it's time to go home. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. I really do. That's why I say it's just I have. If you had to put a gun to my head and I had to give an answer, I would probably lean towards Dak, regardless of the flop. But I mean, man, because Dallas does look great. But again, like you said, I didn't jump out and say his name because I felt a certain kind of way with that Denver game. That was a game he was supposed to go out there and make it a defining moment on why he is America's choice, being America's team. He should have been, the hands down guy and proved his worth with that kind of win right there. You're supposed to beat them. And when you talk about the MVP, again, granted, everyone else has had a up and down season, but that one would have set him by far away from everybody else, especially due to the injuries and the way these guys have had farts lately.
Yeah, and again, I mean, there's no receivers jumping off the page where I'm like, this guy's uncoverable. There's no running back. I mean, Jonathan, again, was it Jonathan Taylor from Indy's having a great year. Derrick Henry's having a great. Cook's having a good year up in Minnesota, but nobody is dominating the game to the point where I'm like, ooh, you don't like. Even think about Justin Herbert the first 4 weeks. You were like, oh, this boy was balling, right? And now Mike Williams hasn't caught a touchdown pass in like 3 weeks. It's like, when did Mike Williams get kryptonite? Like, what's going on here, right?
It's true.
So it's like they're hot and they're streaky. No one's staying consistent and going. So I'm really befuddled. I don't know. I mean, if I had to give a nod, it would be to Dat, because I think Dat has got the best team around him right now. And I think, legitimately, at the end of the year, his numbers could ridiculously be really inflated. And the way that they're playing is really high level, and their division is very low level. So he's going to have a chance to pad the stats a lot in the weeks to come. So if I had to say right now, you put a gun to my head, I would say Dat.
Yeah, I'm with you, brother. Absolutely.
Now, let's turn our attention to the Young Bucks. And let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Let's start on offense. Who's your lead rookie offensive player of the year right now?
So that was a tough one for me. I mean, and again, for one, being a Jet fan, I haven't seen much from Zach. He got caught with his injury. But I only mentioned the Jets because I got to mention the counterpart that we usually don't like to root for, and that's the Pats. I have to sit here and say I am really surprised with the play of Mac Jones. He was the last quarterback taken out of the prime guys in the first round. He was called the safe pick. I guess it is showing thus far. Listen, Bill Belichick is an amazing coach. Never has had a bad season since he's been up there. He had a bad season, but I mean, geez, look at how many he's had that were great. I would say that from a standpoint of stability, when you look at an organization, for me, I look at Mac Jones and I say this kid jumps off the charts for me. But as far as what we're saying is offensive player of the year, Jamar Chase seems to just be unguardable. I really like the kid. I like his spunk. Being in there with Joe Burrow, they still look like they're playing backyard football sometimes, like when they were in LSU. Najee Harris is there too. It's hard for me to really, pinpoint one of them, but man, I would say from a dynamic standpoint, though, I'd have to go with the latter of the three that I mentioned. Najee Harris he's got some incredible stats so far with Pittsburgh, and I think he's kept them in a lot of games. You know what I mean? But, would you consider the offensive player of the year to be almost like the MVP, correct? And the MVP is the most important guy, right? So if we take Najee off, you take Jamar off, the teams get worse, obviously, but does New England get more damage by losing Mac Jones than the other two? So that's how I went when I tried to grade this situation for me. So on my list, it's sad to say, like I said, I had to go with Mac Jones with Najee Harris right there as well.
I'm going to say this. You're so close to one of my candidates and physically, and you didn't mention his name. I'm surprised.
You talk about Smith?
Yes.
I listen, I was going to go there. You know what it is, too?
Bro, the Heisman Trophy winner coming into the league at 160-something pounds, and last week he had 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's a guy, and he's not playing on a stellar team. He's not playing, again, on a stellar offense. People are focused on this kid, and he has stayed healthy, and he has stayed on the field, and he has stayed productive. Him, Kyle Pitts, Chase, Mac Jones, and like you said, Najee are the 5 in which I had pegged. I think the Giants are fucking Tony, because Tony, that one game really was like unbelievable. It's like you saw the Tony that really could be, and then they stopped. And then Jason Garrett stops throwing on the ball, so we won't go there because this isn't a Giant Bash show. But I do that with Patricia Traynor every week after Giants games. So maybe want to listen to Patricia Traynor's podcast.
Gonna do that.
Locked On Giants. Feel free to lock on every post Giants. I'm on there, and we talk about Giants football, so you'll hear my feelings on the play calling ability. But I really think those are the top 5, and I think you're 100% correct in your assessment. Najee Harris has kept the Pittsburgh Steelers in a lot of games. He's made catches he's made plays both catching and running the ball. He's picked up the third and ones and 4th and inches for him. He's a banger. He's exactly what they needed and what they wanted, and everybody knew that was their pick, and they let him just fall right to him.
I wanted him.
Yeah, I mean, he was an incredible pick. He's an incredible player. If you haven't had a chance to watch Najee play this year, tune into a Pittsburgh Steelers game just to watch this young man play. He's an incredible player. I mean, it takes 2 and 3 guys to get him down. This is the next Derrick Henry. I understand. You're watching the next,
Absolutely.
But this one catches the ball better.
Yes,
catches
he
the ball better.
I think he's got over 40 catches this year.
Like you said, he's got some ridiculous stats that nobody knows about because they're not watching Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh fans know what I'm talking about. They're all sitting there nodding their head right now. The Steeler fans are like, hell yeah, we know. Yeah, we got him. I know. And they got another young tight end in Pat Fairmouth who's starting to make a play. I
like him too, absolutely.
But Pat's not in the league MVP mode just yet.
No.
But he's making a play, and I love that they got him too because he fits exactly the Heath Miller, old school type tight end that they love to have there too. But going on to Kyle Pitts, I mean, you talk about a rare athlete at tight end. He's an absolute stud. Atlanta, you take him out of Atlanta right now, they're trash. I love what Patterson's doing down there and everything. But again, if you take Pitts off that field,
it's tough.
They're terrible. They're terrible. I mean,
I got an honorable mention for you too, Dave. One guy that I'd like to mention is Waddle. And the reason why is he's got some impressive numbers in there as well. I know he had an ankle injury that slowed him up a little bit, But man, if you took that carousel quarterback situation that Miami had, if he had one guy that he had if even it was Tua, if Tua was just healthy though, and he had that rapport going, and I think
Careful.
what I
Tua,
what's that?
you
Say
said
that he's the one.
Tua.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
just
not saying
saying
he's the one.
careful because that'll take us down a whole nother road.
No, I'm not saying he's the one. I'm just meaning in a sense with some type of because for instance, the guy's
Gotcha.
got 70 catches for over 550 yards. I think he's got a couple of TDs. You know what I mean? But if he had somebody consistent throwing him the ball, I think he would have a lot more big plays. He's got bigger play, and that's the one reason I didn't like Smith as like one of the higher guys. I love his play of the year was like 36, 37 yards. So he's not a big play guy, but he is consistent. He hasn't really, been electric. He's scoring touchdowns though. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you score 2 touchdowns in a game and have 4 yards. It doesn't matter. You still got 2 touchdowns. I understand that. But these guys though, again, it goes back to the pressure of these young guys. They have so much expectation for them coming in. They have to come in and be stars, and if not, they're automatically labeled busts.
And I hear you. Like, I love Chase. I really do. I think he's an amazing talent. And doing his thing up in Cincinnati, knocking it out with, like you said, his college teammate in Burrow. And he's explosive. He's got balance, body control, everything you want in a receiver. You got a rare talent there. You got, I think, a very good talent in Smith. But like you said, I'm not a Mac Jones fan. In the draft, when people were talking about first round, I'm like, no, sorry. But I said, if there's a first round team that he fits their system, and anybody who listens to Mav Sports Take, anybody who listens to me talk on other shows, I'm all about system. Get the fit for your coach and make sure that he has the right players for his system. Mac Jones fit their system 100%, and you're seeing the maturation of a very good young quarterback who will always be compared to Tom Brady because that's who he's, replacing. But again, he's not Tom Brady, but you're seeing a very, very good young quarterback in a system that fits him, that has some very good longevity to him if he stays healthy. So at the midway point, as much as I love Chase, Smith, Pitts, and Najee, I would have to say the one I would go with right now would be Mac Jones.
You and me are right on point. I'm glad I'm hanging in there with you, Dave.
No, I think it's Mac Jones with Chase a very, very, very close second. And if Mac falls off, I think Chase takes it at the end of the year.
Totally agree with you with that, man.
And that's nothing against the other guys. I just think Chase has still got a lot of explosive plays in him, like you said. And Smith has got some more touchdowns in him, and Najee's got some stuff that I just don't think is going to have enough exposure to get him the votes. But Chase at the end of the year, if New England falls off a little bit, Chase, I think, will ultimately become the offensive rookie of the year.
Totally agree.
And I like that you bring in Waddle. Waddle was one of my favorite players coming out of the draft and everything. I just don't think that he's done enough with Miami with their winning records and touchdowns and different things. He's made 60 catches and 500 yards. But again, he could be better. I agree with you 100%. If he was on a different team, would be way better. And again, he's got the talent to be, but he's just not going to have the exposure and numbers to be.
Totally agree.
Now, rookie defensive player of the year. This is going to be interesting because there are some very interesting rookies. One in particular is really in my head, but I want to hear what you have to say about it.
I mean, if we're going to just go, it's hard to not identify the elephant in the room when it comes to the defensive guys. For me, hands down, it's the former Penn State star, Micah Parsons. I mean, the guy is an animal. He looks like he was designed to be an NFL player. It looks like he's been here for a while already. He became the immediate face of that Dallas defense. He's making plays all over the place. Not only is he sacking a quarterback, he's got tackles for loss, he's got pass defenses. I think he's got a forced fumble or recovery in there. I mean, the guy is a difference maker. For me, again, he's the one that stands out. Call me biased. He's the guy that I watched the most coming out into the draft as far as the defensive guys came. Michael Parsons is living up to everything that I thought he would have. He's definitely my shoe-in.
And again, I think he is the lead dog right now. He is pulling this cart. It's going to take a lot to get him off that podium and away from that trophy. Now, I'll say this: before J.C. Horn got hurt, that young man was
Yes,
balling at corner.
he's
I mean,
special. He is
he
special.
he was special. And then you got Stokes, who's playing
Yes.
really good football. You got who's the kid? There's a linebacker at Kansas City out of Missouri. Good God, this is when I need my other Ryan because he knows all these names. He's so much better at names than I am.
That's
But
not joke, right?
no, it's he's a young kid. He's a rookie, obviously, out of Missouri, and he's there playing middle linebacker. He's having a really, really good year there. So there's about 4 or 5. And here's the thing. Micah, though, is like you said, a cut above. They started him playing linebacker. They had a ton of injuries to their pass rushers. The kid went to Penn State as a young freshman and sophomore playing pass rusher. Then they stood him up. So the Dallas Cowboy put their hand in the dirt mid game, like week 4, and he winds up with like 4 sacks. He can't breathe. He's taking oxygen on the sideline. He goes back in. I mean, this young man like willed his way to playing and finishing this game, and since then he's just made some really critical big plays. I thought now when the Giants traded out of their spot, Micah was still available.
They dropped that one. I swear they dropped that one.
I know they dropped back because the deal that they got
it was sweet.
It was a sweet deal. It was a lot of capital. It was a lot of cashish to trade out of that spot and let somebody come up and get a quarterback. But by letting Micah Parsons leave, the New York Giants to me made a mistake because their defense could have used Micah Parsons.
And now they got to play against him twice a year.
And yeah, it's going to be a beast to block for years and years to come. This one was a little easier, I think, than the offense. So you and I agree on that. There was a lead dog coming into it. I'm gonna ask Ryan next week if he has opinions on this and see where he lines up with us.
Absolutely.
But I think we're 100% right now with Mac Jones and Micah Parsons sitting there looking us in the face. I think at the midway point, those are the ones that are really standing out the most. Now, we have about 3 minutes left in the show. So before I wrap up, final thought, Ryan, jump on here. Tell the folks, the family, everybody how to get a hold of you. Tell everybody what you guys do again. Make sure you plug your social media and everywhere else so, you use this time for you.
Actually, I appreciate it. Again, you can catch us with the SNA Live podcast, again, on One Institution Media. You can catch us on SNA Live podcast across all platforms from Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We got them all. We got the accounts bubbling with them all. You can definitely find us. I know OIM is dropping the app soon. So once OIM drops that app, it'll be easier to find all of us. You can download us right onto your mobile device. But, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's been a pleasure working here at One Institution. And, again, we're a part of Smoke and Ashes. It's one of the biggest cigar lounges up in the Northeast. We've kind of built a real big niche for ourselves in the last 2 years, pushed through COVID. We were a lifeline for at least 500 people throughout COVID up here due to the setup of our lounge. We have a great big parking lot, which we were hosting tailgate parties during the height of COVID, which allowed people just to sit in their own little bubbles, and we would put DJs outside, and we gave people life again during the time where they couldn't find themselves because most of the people were also by themselves. Some people who don't have significant others, they live by themselves. They were quarantined. They were going crazy. So we gave people a place to let loose, and the people have taken care back of us, and they've put us on a platform and pushed us through the roof out here. I mean, we have all the time. We film music videos here. There's filming documentaries here. It's been a blessing to be a part of this ride. And again, I appreciate you, David, having me out here with you. And Cross Brandon, both of the platforms. I appreciate you, and I definitely will be a thorn in your side. Now we're going to talk sports throughout the rest of this year. Definitely going to side text you during the week when we talk about games. And again, I
Oh, that's okay.
definitely,
I
yeah.
do that. You know what I gotten into now? I've gotten into the daily fantasy sports.
Oh,
I'm betting like crazy now that it's legal
oh,
out here. It's
yeah,
fun as shit. I'm having a
it
great
is.
time, and it's fun. It's like I might lose a little, but I don't. I haven't lost really big. I've won big a couple times, but it's like I'm still getting my feet wet. I know I got a little bit left of the season. I am like this close to dialing this shit in though. It's gonna get
Can't wait to
ridiculous. I
hear it.
guarantee you, I will win one of the big pots by the end of the year. I will,
I
and I
can't
will
wait.
post it. I will let you know. Uh, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for co-hosting, and stepping in last minute. Like I reached out to the One Institution family. You stepped up. You said, I got you. I said, this is what we're going to talk about. You're like, I'm going to make my notes, be ready for you. And you delivered, man. And thank you so much for helping us out tonight here on Mavs. And it just
Absolutely.
shows you what the One Institution family can do when we put our heads together. We can make great shows happen, great content every day of the week. So thank you so much. Ryan, my other co-host, Ryan Roberts, our wishes and everything are out to you. He had an emergency. We love you. So, that's there. And I got to say this, it is to Ryan's point here. Tomorrow is 1 year from the day I obliviated my ankle. My ankle just exploded.
Wow.
And over this year, with COVID, not being able to move, and it was my right ankle, so I couldn't drive. I've been stuck in my house. So it's like, Ryan, you were saying, I was going batshit crazy here and on pain meds, and I couldn't move and I couldn't do a lot of stuff on my own. So I want to say thank you to everybody out there that came by, sent food, who brought, came over and just helped me take trash out or wash my laundry when I couldn't do it myself and things. I mean, a lot of people don't know how much was really done for me, and it really meant a lot to me. And tomorrow being the 1 year anniversary of it, it really did touch my heart when I reflected on that today. And when I was meditating, those thoughts came into my head, because we all know somebody who's lonely, who's batshit crazy right now. A lot of times men aren't thought of. You think of the single mothers, the women that are alone. But with the holidays coming up, think of that single man that you don't usually talk to or know, or maybe as a neighbor, that you don't reach out to. He's probably sitting in that home alone. And if you just bring him a plate and spend 5 minutes with him, or a cup of coffee, or like you did, put a DJ outside and maybe just put your grill outside. Here in Arizona, we can still do that.
Yeah, yes, you
And have
can.
a little barbecue where friends and people can come by. It's we don't do enough of that in our country and our cultures anymore, which is a shame, because there's a lot of good people living around us we don't even know anymore.
You're
So
right. You're
so
100% right.
I applaud you and your colleagues and your cohorts there to doing that during the pandemic and getting people connected and keeping them connected. I share nothing but love with everybody. Thank you for sticking around. Everybody on TikTok, everybody on all that. If you feel free to download us, send us a like, a share, go out there and give us a review. It's helpful. I know you guys don't think it is, but it's helpful to hear back from you all.
Yes, it
So
is.
everybody have a good night. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.